Here are the dates that we have set in January. Third, 4th, 5th, 9, 10, 11, 12, 19, 23, 24, 25, 26, 30, and 31. So, as for all of the other individuals who will need to plan on witnesses as well, I can't give you dates right now. We'll have to see how everything goes when Mauna Kea, Anainaho, and Kahea are done, because that'll give us a better estimate, and then after that, we'll be going pretty much one by one, so you'll have a good idea. And we'll also get a flavor for how long those witnesses will be examined, because I expect that's going to be different as well. Okay. Mr. Ng or Mr. Shinyama, who will your witnesses be on the 3rd and the 4th?
We will be calling Gary Saunders on the 3rd of January.
So can Dr. Reckman come back, because we just have a few more?
Yes, I will have to work out a schedule with him.
Will he be able to come back on the 3rd, or is that not possible?
I don't know. I don't think it's possible. I have made arrangement for Mr. Saunders to fly out and be here for that period of time.
For the 3rd?
From the 3rd, yes.
But that being the case, then Sanders would come on the 3rd, Tuesday, and then who would be coming after Sanders?
You mean after Mr. Sanders?
Yes.
I will be sending out a witness notification. I just need to know the date. So it could be either Paul Coleman, Heather Kaluna, or we would bring Mr. Reckman back to complete his cross.
Okay, so Dr. Kaluna, Sanders, and you had another witness? Oh, Coleman. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
There were, I don't know if Mr. Hallstrom is still on your witness list, or is he off?
He is on the witness list, but I don't know whether we're going to be able to call him as a result of the schedule. So I have to verify that.
Well, I also think the last time we spoke to you, which was maybe yesterday, I don't remember, a couple days back, but I think the last time we spoke to you, Mr. Ng, I think you weren't going to call Hallstrom. So I recall that it was Kaluna, Coleman, Sanders left, and then, of course, Reckman. So I guess, but I mean, it's up to you. But at some point, we're going to need to, the reason it's important is because I need to ask Ms. Ward who her witnesses are going to be and give her a deadline to let everybody know. That's the reason I'm trying to plan it out. So we know the TIO witnesses, next witnesses will be Sanders, Kaluna, Coleman, and completion of Reckman. And you intend to submit
Yes.
the notice of witness list by when?
We would definitely have it out by the 27th, but we will try to get it out by the 23rd, which is Friday, this Friday.
I appreciate that. You know, I feel like I could just sort of say you folks get the first week, 3rd, 4th, 5th fixture witnesses, and then at least we could give the Mauna Kea Anainaho group and the individual persons the next week, which is, I think, 4 days. But I'm fearful because that does require some planning, and I don't want to confuse anybody. It feels to me like it's better if I ask you to confirm it and then lock it in place. I feel like I can't just sort of leave it out there and it'll happen. And I worry about that. TIO's remaining witnesses are Dr. Heather Kalua, Gary Sanders, Mr. Coleman, I think it's Paul Coleman, and Reckman, completion of Reckman. And you're not limited to that, Mr. Ng. Should you choose to call Hallstrom or someone else, you still have the right to do that. But I anticipate that there is going to be an end within sight.
And so I know Mr. Ng has his memo due on the 3rd. So if Mr. Saunders is going to testify, I'm going to have to go through this on the 3rd. That
is a document related to Sanders' testimony?
It's the decommissioning revolving plan that was tendered to OKMK in 2014 and is referenced in Mr. Stone's witness direct testimony. He was crossed on it, and it's also referenced in Mr. Saunders' witness direct testimony, which is why I brought it up today, because I'm trying to be timely.
Yes.
And I know that we have to do these by written motion. So if you want me to expedite it, I could try and expedite. I can do it more quickly. I'm supposed to have mine in on the 29th.
Mr. Ng?
Just a minor clarification. So we're going to file on the, Saluli's going to file her motion on the 27th. I'd like to request that any joinders in that motion be filed, at that time as well. We will respond with our response on the 30th of December.
Okay, so I think the joiners, we should give them at least a day or two, maybe till the 29th. So joiners are usually just joiners, so it won't be difficult to, I think, include the consideration in your reply or response. Please. So the hearing then is going to be on the 3rd at 9 o'clock. The motion for production of that specific document, and that's exactly how I want the motion to be titled.
Motion for production of document?
That specific document, the name of that document, so we all know what we're dealing with. That's going to be due by the 27th, and any joinders by the 29th, all of this in December. And any response by the 30th. And again, all you need to do is send it to Mr. Kane, OCCL, and they'll file it. And that'll be filed in the documents library. Okay? Not as an evidentiary hearing. Well, yes, not as an evidentiary hearing. It is going to be a hearing motion, but we will not take evidence for that motion. We will have the hearing on that motion on the 3rd at 9 a.m. And that we're intending to do this because, if I hear you right, Ms. Aluli, the representation, or rather that document may be important when folks are examining Mr. Sanders. And since he's expected to come on the 3rd, we'll make the ruling that day.
We're going to designate amongst ourselves which witness goes with which party, petitioner, and then we will set up, I know Kalani has a format that we're going to follow that's similar to what you and the UH have been providing. I think you're the one that has the Excel spreadsheet. One of the two of you does. So we will, I guess we just need to have a date when we think we're going to get started, and we'll, I know that's the purpose of this conversation.
Exactly.
Thank you, Judge.
So I'm not really clear, Ms. Aluli, I apologize, but Well, all right, so let's take care of the things we know first.
Well, Judge, one thing I want to say is that in our collective exhibit witness list, the parties were given, a 4. I think what were we? B, and then there was B1, which was Kealoha, B2. And then under that, the exhibits, that's why some of these exhibits have double alphabets.
I understand.
So the exhibits associated with the parties have been...
I'm not worried about that. For exhibit lists, it's just important that they have separate identifications. As far as the record is concerned, I don't care who it's attached to. We just need them separated. And you've done that, and I don't have a problem with that. The reason you have a single witness list is because you had a single representation at the time. So I'm just going to hold everybody to the 48-hour rule, and that's what we have to do. So I think on perhaps the 3rd, we'll get a better sense, but I will probably be asking Ms. Ward at that time who her witnesses will be, and they may have to come on Thursday, because we won't know if we're going to be done or not.
Our petitioners were listed collectively under B as our exhibits. So what we're in the process of doing, we're already started, is to separate them out to which particular party the witnesses and their corresponding exhibits would be. And our intention is to submit a list when we know the schedule as it goes within 48 hours who will be coming up and being prepared to submit their testimony, just like the UH Council and TIO's Council has done. So we intend to do the same in the same fashion. So just to clarify that.
That works fine for me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Your Honor.
And it's really okay, Mr. Flores and everyone, if BAB and B3 and B whatever go together with a particular witness. It doesn't have to go with the party. The party just calls the witness. The witness is tied to the exhibits. The exhibits are individually identified. That's all we need. Okay? So on the 3rd, be prepared to tell us, Ms. Ward, who your witnesses are going to be, and you may need your witnesses available on Thursday. We won't know until we get done with TIO.
Flexibility, however, to give the names of 3 or 4 people that are coming up in the sequence. And if something comes up and that one person can't do it, another one may be taken out of place. And that's exactly the same that TIO did.
Well, that's
recently.
not what happened today.
Not today, but it is what they submitted last week, is that here are 3 people, they may be taken out of order. And we may have to do the same thing. I'm not saying because of something. What I'm saying is sometimes people have to come out of order.
It looks like the preparation is affected by the order of the testimonies. So just bear that in mind, because that's what I heard today.
Yeah, I understand. They did need the flexibility, but they had the discretion of the flexibility, and we're asking for the same kind of discretion. We may need to say, so-and-so has to go back and teach, because some of our people are professors at the university. They may be available on a Tuesday and not a Wednesday, and we may have to put them in when they are available.
We'll see.
Okay, we're going to do our best. We do. We do our best.
Ms. Ward, I'll ask you to please identify your witnesses. It's less than 48 hours, but because of the holidays, I'm going to give you till the 3rd to... I understand. To let us know who the witnesses will be. And that's going to be possibly on Thursday. That's why we need it.
Mr. Sanders is going to take at least a day and a half.
Well, we'll see. Ms. Alula, you asked earlier about the order that Ms. Pichota actually goes first. But when we started this, they asked to exchange. So Ms. Ward is going first. When we started taking witnesses, so Ms. Ward will be the first presenter.
So you want us to go in the order in which we have examined?
Exactly.
Advocating for a kind of a more chronological, and I'm a big believer in Mo'olelo, so I have been advocating that they consider presenting their case in a you know, taking into consideration a chronology and a story. And so to the extent that I know that it's been, I know it can get, no, not the most linear presentation, but would we be able to have some latitude so at least these folks can consider? I don't know that you necessarily understood that they would be the first to put on witnesses when they set up who gets to ask questions
yeah,
first.
it was.
Really?
Sure, because we have been following an order from the beginning, including the pre-hearing motions. And the order we have been following is there were the existing parties,
Right.
which was UH and Mauna Kea Anaina Ho, and that included your client at that time.
Right.
And then it was TIO, who was the first party to move to join. And then we took them in the order in which they filed their motions to join. And that's why we have this existing order. But then when we started the taking of testimony, I've forgotten whether it was Mr. Wardeman or one of you folks, who said, you know, well, actually, I think it was Mr. Wardeman.
No, he wasn't here when they started taking tests.
No, before that.
Okay.
We talked about how the hearing was going to go, and he suggested that TIO go after UH.
Right.
And because they have similar interests. There was a discussion also about Pueo. I declined to accept that offer or suggestion. So UH, and that's the reason we have the order we do. So it's TIO, then it goes directly in the order, well, then it goes to MKAH and their group, and then we go in the order in which the motions to join were filed.
That's exactly what we're concerned about. We thought that MKH as a group was able to organize our witnesses so that it was functional with the witnesses.
I'm not
And-
averse to something that will be efficient,
Okay.
but I am not going to, but I would like a good reason to deviate from that because we have been following this order in cross-examination, in pretty much everything.
But we've been working as a team, and we didn't understand that we had to be individual at this point. We thought that as a team of pro se people suddenly put in that position that we could actually shuffle our witnesses to the extent that it was convenient for the witnesses.
No one asked me. And as far as convenience to the witnesses, I've been telling you throughout that when your turn comes, you'll understand about why the shuffling was necessary and how difficult it is to give this notice.
I do understand.
And sometimes it's not possible.
Yes.
So in any event, my expectation is we follow the plan, but if you give me a good reason, I certainly will consider it.
So Judge, I just want to say we're not I'm just looking at this petitioner's group and the order in which, because Kahea has opted to put itself last within the petitioner's group. They may not be the last in the citation on the pleading as the petitioners.
Yes,
but they-
you did that after,
I filed an
the wit-
appearance.
right, and after the withdrawal of counsel. So I can understand there needs to be some discussion about the organization, no problem.
Right.
But if we could wrap this up, so I hope you hear,
Right.
I'm open to hearing as long as there's a good reason. But otherwise, we follow the pattern
The pattern within the petitioner's group.
with the entire
Yeah,
group.
but I mean, what happened is it was Deborah, yeah. So we'll try to present a basis for if we deviate from that.
Yeah. Okay. Ms. Ward?
Yes, I'm going to make a statement now just so that you understand that I'm getting off the plane just before the hearing starts on the 3rd, and I may well ask not to be the first person to give my testimony on the 5th. So, it would be much better if I were able to start on the following Monday. So, I'm just going to say now that this is the only time I'm going to see my mother this year, and I really don't want to ruin my vacation by having to rewrite my testimony while I'm there. And I'm working on it now. I mean, I'm somewhere on it, but I have not rewritten it yet, and I don't want to have to do that while I'm in Pennsylvania. So I am not going to commit to being able to give my witness testimony on Thursday.
And Ms. Ward, with all due respect, I cannot commit to you that
I
you won't
understand.
be. So we know what the plan is, but I know that you'll need to consult with others, and that I'll wait to hear.
We'll do our best.
All right.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much. The fourth matter I want to cover deals with subpoenas, because very early on, some folks wanted to call certain witnesses for whom we know you wouldn't be able to get written direct testimony. And I wanted to wait until the university and TIO closed their witnesses, so then you folks would have a chance, the opposition would have a chance to determine what witnesses they needed to subpoena. And I think I said some time back that we would take it up at the right time. So my deadline for notice of subpoenas of witnesses will be 1 week after the close of TIO's case. All I want is the notice, and then we'll have time for objections. Then we'll set it for a hearing, and I'll make a decision, and then we'll issue the subpoenas if it's appropriate. So to me, it needs to be, I want to call this person, and these are the reasons why, and this is my offer of proof. Okay, does that make sense? And when we get the witnesses to come, we may have to take those witnesses out of order, or at the end of all of the current witnesses, we'll just have to see how that works. Those who think they need witnesses subpoenaed will need to submit a request for subpoena 1 week after TIO rests. Because by then you should know who you need to subpoena, I think. And I'm not foreclosing other times, but this is going to be an opportunity for us to organize a little bit better. And there will be opportunity there to oppose, and hopefully I'll decide whether it needs a hearing or not. We decided early on also, we tried different things, but what we came out of this was, at the end of all of the testimony, we would then consider the receipt of exhibits. We haven't received any exhibits. So what I'm going to ask the university and TIO, when they are done with their witnesses, I'm going to ask them to file motions for admission of exhibits and list the exhibits. We won't deal with it right now, but I want everybody to know which exhibits are being offered. And I expect those lists to include the written direct testimonies, because they already testified. So to me, I have to receive the written direct testimonies of those persons who testified. I have to receive that in evidence. Makes sense, right?
Like Mr. Neese's,
Yeah.
he used a template. He only verified that he had written.
But you cross-examine him on the written statement, so if you don't have it in the record, and I don't receive it as an exhibit, it's going to be difficult. As far as how much weight to give it, that's up to me later on. And, we'll have to deal with that then. But right now I want a weight so that everyone knows which exhibits are being offered. Okay, so then at the end we will have then I'll have a process for objections, and then we'll deal with what I admit and what I don't admit. Because they're the only ones who finished their case. So once Ms. Ward is done with her case, I expect her to do one on her behalf. Same thing with each offerer. So then at the end of everybody's cases, we'll have the whole list of exhibits. Everyone will have had plenty of time to consider everything, and we can deal with it at that time. I'm expecting that a lot of this will be stipulated, honestly, by that time. But I leave it to folks to think about what they want to do, and I'll make decisions. I'm asking the university to submit a motion for admission of its exhibits, including all their written direct testimonies of those witnesses who testified. Obviously, I don't think I'm going to receive in evidence written direct testimony of folks who didn't testify. Okay, so does everybody have that down?
Will you also be able to take up the two motions I still have pending? One is to recall Mr. Stone, and the second one is to disqualify TIO as a party to the contested case and its entries into evidence.
And I think I told you to go ahead and file your motions, but they will be
did.
non-hearing motions. You can do that anytime you want.
Yes, I actually have. We were kind of holding off until we got the stuff from the court, but the motion to recall Mr. Stone I filed several weeks ago.
Go ahead. Yeah, that's fine. I'm not going to set deadlines for that. We're not going to have a hearing on it.
Okay.
All right. So put your reasons in there, and then I wait long enough for people to comment. Mr. Louis Kwan, something else? Don't dismantle yet. I have to repeat all this. I know I do. Sorry. Ms. Peixoto, please don't forget to work on your findings of fact, conclusions of law, decision, and order. I know it's asking a lot, but it's a lot of work to do that, and you'll be helping yourself a great deal. If you take a look at the samples that were uploaded in October, it's in the documents library, and you start to at least put an outline together for yourself. Because if you wait till the end, you're going to be shortchanged a lot. It's a lot of work. So that's the only reminder I want to give. Otherwise, happy holidays to everybody, and we'll see you on the 3rd at 9 o'clock.